Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Wednesday in the Riff.
And
And
don't go walking at night.
stabbing on Division Street.
Yet, 200 block of Division Street.
But remember, there's no crime. Paulie says there's no crime. Don't worry about it. Believe everything politicians tell you. There's no inflation, nothing. So just to start off with that about lying politicians, how can you tell they're lying? Their lips are moving. And if they were Pinocchio, their nose would already be on the moon. I got some interesting stats the other day. Uh, this was a Zillow press release, February 29th, 2024. The national, basically, 4 years ago, you would need to make about $50,000 to afford a home. Today, you need $106,000 income to afford a home. The average national average median income is 74,000, and the average income, according to the United States Census Bureau in Fall River, is now 52,734, which is, 22,000 below the median. Uh, and our poverty rate is, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, 19.7. You might as well say 20%, which means 1/5 of our population is living in poverty. And just today, I guess Healy's talking about another $4 billion to put into affordable housing because nobody can afford their housing anywhere in the country. But remember, in this city, there's no problem. We just keep building non-affordable housing and tell everybody it's great. So I think that's pretty germane to how politicians, liars don't figure, but yeah, figures don't lie, but liars can figure. How they lie about everything, crime, affordability of everything, and they just ignore the real people. That's what happens. They just ignore everything and tell you, don't believe it. Don't believe the reality, the stats. Don't believe the fact that, people are living paycheck to paycheck. Don't believe anything. Everything is fine. Trust us. The check's in the mail, and a few of those other promises that nobody ever keeps. So I thought we'd start with that, and then we can talk about the how they've spent this state, this city, into oblivion. Because the governor also announced that there's a hiring freeze. We can't afford to hire anybody, except he did make an exemption, which I never thought I'd agree with this the worst governor I think we've ever had on anything. But unlike cities that every time they run out of money, they threaten to lay off fire and police, she said that the fire and public safety is exempt from the hiring freeze because we have to maintain public safety, of course, because we got a crime wave going on all over the state. There was just I believe, an Ecuadorian illegal, and I am using the word illegal, that was arrested for more than 12 sexual crimes against children. Some of them were rapes and other sexual charges, more than 12. But the governor's going to make sure she puts billions of dollars away to house them and give them debit cards and everything else. So that's my initial rant to say how disgustingly pathetic these politicians are. They never abide by their oath to work for us. They only work for their friends. And with that, CJ, back to you.
It's very interesting because yesterday, the dictator decided to make some changes in his administration. He had David Dennis removed from the elections board. And he said, like he says to everybody that he removes from boards and commissions when they don't do what he wants, I am going to go a different way. How can you go a different way in elections? How can you go a different way in elections? What? Going to make it easier to fix an election? Maybe that's a different way we're going to go. I don't know, but it's going to be interesting to see. Also, Joey De Silva has left the park board. He has decided that I don't like the way this is being run. I don't like the way this is happening. It's time for me to get out of here. And so he did. He resigned. Makes for an interesting time, don't you think? Because he was appointed illegally and now he's being removing himself. And just so you know, the park board is meeting today, 3 o'clock at 5:30 in the council hearing room. That's the downstairs room. Okay. Um, it's interesting because they may not have enough members for a quorum tonight because, quote unquote, the possible weather or whatever. But there's something on the agenda that really came to my attention. A member of the board, Ms. Burns, has put a request in for the use of a park for a summer for a summer event or some type of event that she controls. Here we are. Request from the Burns Foundation for the use of Kennedy Park, Broadway, on August 24th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. for the annual block party back to school event. Now, the Burns Foundation is controlled by the park board member, which I think is definitely a conflict of interest. So, if you're watching, Miss Burns, I would highly suggest that when this item comes up before the park board, that you remove yourself from the room and recuse yourself in total. I would also suggest that you contact the Ethics Commission to see if it is right and legal for you to put in your own organization's request before a board that you sit on. There's a lot of conflict there. Don't worry about it if you forget to do it because the complaints are already filed. So you go from there. And no, I didn't file them. I can tell you that somebody has filed them. They don't take any crap. They constantly file these complaints, and it's time for another complaint to file. This is what happens in Fall River. Corruption at its best. We need the FBI and the feds to come in here and start arresting people for RICO violations. This has got to stop. It's got to stop. And until we make it stop, it's not going to stop.
Well, listen, the purge continues. I don't believe Coogan is going to run for a third term. I don't think he'd get elected anyway after the total destruction in his city. We're already out of money. They as much as said it numerous times in other areas, like at the retirement board when they complained they couldn't afford anything. How about next year? We know this is an election year. They're sticking their finger in the dikes like a little Dutch boy. Try to, hold this city together until next year. Because next year, Katie, bar the door. The shit is going to hit the fan. They're already looking at hiring freezes. They're already talking about furloughs for state workers next year. We have our information sources. Next year is going to be get ready for this one. You can only use this if you're a Democrat without taking heed. It's kind of like the word forensic or something like that. The word is bloodbath. Trump can't use it. I'm an independent. I can't use that word anyway, so forgive me for using that blasphemous term, it's going to be a bloodbath next year. The only people that are going to be impervious to this bloodbath will be the very rich and politically connected and any illegal that decides to invade the United States. Everybody else is screwed. Everybody else is screwed. Bend over, no Vaseline, here it comes. Next year, it's going to be a total mess. And that's why Paulie's already going to talking about 2.5 override. He wants to bump that base up like they're going to do with the water base. Bump that thing up 23% and then compound it later. But let's make that big jump now because we'll never be able to make a jump like that again. The state is at a catastrophic level. 1,100 people a month are leaving the state of Massachusetts. That is a statistic being bantered around by the people who keep those statistics. But I know that this morning on the radio, the propaganda ministry said that the annual income in Fall River is, household median income is 56. I don't believe it's 56. I think it's closer to the 52. And even if it is, let me give you a little glimpse into how you actually interpret numbers. Not just look at them, interpret them. Look at them logically and interpret numbers. Let's look at this. I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, the per capita income in this city was like 24 or 5. Now it's 30 by the Census Bureau, a little over 30, I think. 32, 7, 34 to be exact. That's what I looked up yesterday. Let's look at that increase. 25 to 30 over, I don't know how many years. Look how much everything else, the cost of everything has gone up. You need now $106,000 median income to afford a house rather than $50,000 just 4 years ago. So the reality is the income has actually not gone up. It's gone down proportionately to the value of the dollar. The household income, the same thing. And that household income has only increased because the rich are getting richer. Because the household income is based on a household. We have a lot of households in here that have 2 people with very, very good jobs, most of them political. And these numbers speak to the kind of trouble Fall River is in. Our poverty rate has always hovered around 20%, one of the highest in the state. But the 8 clowns we have in the council, they love to talk about, oh, Fall River's doing great. Look at all the market rate housing we're building. We got billions of dollars worth of property. Well, that property doesn't buy anything at a store. That property doesn't pay rent. It gets rent. And nobody can afford it. And apparently everybody in the planet understands that except Paul Coogan and the people that run the city of Fall River. They do not care. They do not care one iota about this. They don't care what's happening. We started off with a stabbing, and I'm going to segue quickly because we didn't do it, and I feel a little remiss. Yes, Nelson has uncovered some interesting research regarding water usage. Watergate 2.0 Florida could get very serious. Well, I hope so. Nelson, again, kudos on yours, but we have to mention on this show, because as you know, public safety is near and dear to my heart, and I have the utmost respect for police officers and firefighters. And I know that, and corrections officers, because they have to go places where nobody else will go. They have to go into the bank when everybody else is running out of the bank. When there's a holdup. Firefighters have to go in buildings everybody's running out of. And corrections officers have to run into the prison when there's a prison riot while they're evacuating everybody in the area. So, Jonathan Dilla the 31-year-old police officer from New York, another police officer who died in the line of duty, has to be remembered. And what I'd like you to remember more is the way two different segments of our government handled it. Donald Trump, whatever you think of him, went to the wake of the police officer. Joe Biden went to Radio City Music Hall and sat with Obama and Bubba to collect $25 million for his campaign. Never called the family, never extended his condolences, because they frankly don't care. They're the people who defunded the police. And then the governor of the state of New York showed up, even though she was asked not to. And she was, and kudos to the president of the Sergeants Union. I guess he read her the Riot Act. And I guess the widow, said the truth, that blood is on their hands. And Letitia James and Alvin Bragg actually wanted to go to the wake, when they're the people who let these people out. 29 arrests. I don't know, 9 or 10 or 11 of them felony arrests. Illegal gun possession. He's out on the street, he shoots a police officer. And this again, it's very, very personal to me, because I walk behind many caskets all over this state, all over New England, when I went to the deaths of police and fire. And in this city, I walked behind a casket of 5 firefighters who died in the line of duty while I was on the fire department, and 3 police officers who died in the line of duty. And I saw those scumbag politicians walking right alongside of me who don't give 2 shits, who didn't want to give you a pay raise, who didn't want to give you the time of day, except at election time. And kudos to that president of the Sergeants Union for taking a flashlight and giving her a colonoscopy. And with that, CJ, back to you.
Nothing like a politician to make sure that everything goes the way it's supposed to. Ah! They don't want me here. Why is that? Oh, God. Because you're the scumbag. You're the one that did it. It's interesting that we have these things going on. I mean, we don't have crime in Fall River, obviously. We only have gun shootings and stabbings. And I'm waiting to hear that this was a targeted attack, that this was a targeted stabbing. Because he says that about everything. It was targeted. It was targeted. It was targeted. According to the report that was provided by the Fall River Police Department to the Fall River Reporter, the report says, and I will read it. According to Detective Sergeant Moses Pereira, units responded to the 200 block of Division Street just after 7:15 p.m. after receiving a report that a male had been stabbed in the area. Upon arrival, officers located a 32-year-old male who reported that he was walking in the rain when he encountered an unknown male seated on a bench. I don't know where a bench is on over 200 block of Division Street, but a verbal argument ensued, and that unknown male allegedly brandished a knife. The victim attempted to gain control of the knife and sustained a non-life-threatening injury in the process. He was transported to a local hospital for medical attention. That's what the police department said. So I wonder how that's going to be listed as a targeted attack. I guess you can't walk after dark in the city anymore. I guess everything's got to be, in bright light. So on Monday, during the eclipse, don't walk around.
Well, brandish. The only thing is, I know we have some viewers that I'm wondering, when you read that report, and I did actually read it. where they talked about how it went. There was an argument ensued and brandishing. And, just because it wasn't life-threatening, the guy was trying to stab him with a knife. So, I mean, because in fact, it's like, well, don't worry about it. It's not a crime if they shoot at you and miss, because they missed you. It wasn't life-threatening. They hit the building. But then again, that doesn't count either unless it's Paul's house. But I'm just wondering when you read that report, because it said PM. We always use military time on our report. I don't know if the police department actually uses it on any reports. Maybe he did that for the general public, because a lot of the general public is not used to dealing with military time, the 24-hour time. They use it, I know, CJ, they use it in hospitals, correct?
Yes, we do.
Okay, they use it in hospitals, they use it on our reports, so there's no confusion. Nobody, can't see the P or thinks the P's an A, and so you can't confuse the times when you use military time. I'm not sure if the sergeant did that as a press release for the general public, because if he put down 1915 or 1930 or whatever it was, they would go, what the hell is that? It's like, but it's curious. I get curious when I see stuff like that, because I know that normally on these types of reports and in hospitals where time is extremely important, that you get the correct time. They don't want any confusion between the AM hours and the PM hours, so they don't use the AM and PM designation. But yeah, it's it's just what we see going around the country now is just, it's horrifying. I mean, the society is just breaking down. I mean, you had those teenage kids who beat the kid to death, and they were texting about it and bragging about it, and I guess I'm too strong and blah blah blah, and I killed a kid, and it was like, I don't know, maybe you're too imposing, I don't know. Look, that's the problem with crime. It only has to happen once, and that's the problem. Look, nobody can eliminate crime, but you have to recognize it, and you have to say we're doing everything we can, and you've got to get the public involved, and it is what it is. And people who are victimized, like that kid. Oh yeah, the report you post. Okay, all right, military time, good man. But you have to be aware. You have to be aware of things. You have to have situational awareness. I'm give you a free little lesson in situational awareness, because when I taught a lot of self-defense classes, and I used to tell people, when you're walking on a street, even in your own community, but if you're visiting somewhere, there are a few little things that you have to be aware all the time. You can't be like oblivious to your surroundings. You have to be aware. You have to look and see what's happening. And another little tip that I gave that amazed a lot of people is that when you're walking down a street, especially in a big city, don't walk on the inside of the sidewalk near the building, because when you hit a cross street, there's an alley or a street. There could be somebody in that alley, and you won't see him until you step into that alley. If you walk to the outside of the sidewalk, that person will have to take some steps to get to you. So you will have at least some time to prepare. So that little tip was brought to you at no cost. Any other lessons I will charge. No, I'm only kidding. But a lot of people don't know that. It's pretty simple. I mean, if you're walking on the outside, away from the buildings, if somebody's hiding in that alley, they still have to take a few steps to get to you. If you're walking right alongside the building, as soon as you step into that alleyway or cross street area, and he's there, he's putting hands on you. So remember that. Yeah, that's right, Alphonse, you're right. Also, the way if you're aware and you're looking at your surroundings and you look like you're paying attention, that does do some good. Because criminals victimize people uh, because they look like victims. If you kind of carry yourself with a little bit of confidence and stuff, I mean, if they're desperate, they might attack you anyway. But the thing is that some of them will kind of look at you and, well, maybe not this one. I'll wait for somebody that looks a little less, alert and prepared to maybe defend themselves. And that's true. But the psychology of that is really amazing on that stuff. But situational awareness, and that's what you have to be. And today, in your own community, there was a time. There was a time when you could walk around Fall River with your head in the sky, daydreaming, and leave your doors open. Unfortunately, those times are long gone, and we have to protect ourselves, and because the politicians won't protect us. I mean, the politicians are only interested in themselves. Remember, our entire state delegation wouldn't even impose a residency for 6 months on the illegals. They just keep throwing money at them, while they're gonna eviscerate our services. People who could have got a job are not going to get a job because there's a hiring freeze. We are going to get more taxes, more increases on things, and they don't care. We're just like the dregs. Nobody cares about us. All those people that were going into the Radio City Music Hall paying a minimum of $250, but what was it, CJ? $100,000 for a picture with those three bozos?
Yeah.
They'd have to pay me $100,000 to get near them. But that's my own personal opinion. You couldn't get me in there. $250,000 to have a special audience with them afterwards or something, and $100,000 to take a picture with them. Wow, we got some. These rich people just got too much money.
It's like an audience with the Queen.
Yeah, it's like an audience with the Queen.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's getting crazy, and we got a lot of real problems. Nelson brought one up, that water fee. We're going to look at this 2.5 override. We're in deep trouble, and of course, there's nothing we can do politically except go to the polls. Because remember, he's taken over every single board. You don't do what he tells you, you're gone. Off with the head. Send them to the guillotine. Let everybody else eat cake. With that back.
What's very interesting about all of this is the fact that the dictator has done this consistently and regularly. If you don't do what he says, you're out of there. If you don't agree with him, you're out of there. Just look at the retirement board. Atavieta didn't do what the mayor wanted. The dictator got rid of him. That's it. Gone. Off with his head. Off with his head. That's the way it works. Now, in regards to local crime, what's happening? Nothing. Nothing. The dictator doesn't want to acknowledge it. He always says it's targeted. That doesn't make it any better. I want to bring to your attention a video that we showed on this show about an elderly man being attacked on Granite Street, which is like an alley, by three, not one, not two, but three gentlemen who have never been brought to justice. And they had a video of it. This is the state of Fall River. This is the state of this city. Not that line of bull that was spewed last month by the dictator. This is the state of the city. This is the city we know. This is the city we must live in. And I know somebody from this city who's so fed up with this city that he's selling his RV vehicle. He sold his home. He sold his business. He sold everything. And he's moving to South Carolina. And guess why? The income's better. The taxes are better. The crime is better. And he can make a living there without worrying about it. And without worrying about increasing fees and taxes regularly. And this man was a businessman, and he gave more to the city than a lot of other people have. And he didn't care. It was all about what could be done. His wife is a nurse, and she's going to work down in South Carolina too. So this shows you that Fall River can't keep anyone good. That is, if you want it illegal, just sooner or later they'll be dodging in the front door. That's the way it works.
Well, he's joining the other. He's joining the other 1,099. He's the 1,100 that are leaving this state every month. We're number two in the country now, behind California. We're beating New York, and it's a tragedy. The whole country's kind of messed up, but most of these states, South Dakota, they're moving to Tennessee, Texas, they're all moving to red states where they are tougher on crime. They support the police. They support taxpayers. And up here, nothing. Just absolutely nothing to help the people. We're going down a rabbit hole again. I can't wait till budget time. It should be a three-ring circus. And people just can't handle it. I mean, I was watching some economists talking about the problems, and then when it's catastrophic now because people can't, like I said, with homes, more than doubled the income you need to even afford a home. Basically, start a home. The price of houses, etc., etc. I mean, we're destroying the country. The only people who don't worry about that are the really rich people and the illegals, because they get hotel rooms, they get motor scooters, they get debit cards, they get everything for free. They get driver's licenses, they get, you name it, they got it for free. And in Massachusetts, we had that Ecuadorian that had over a dozen charges, and we also cleaned out, I think in Chelsea, a veterans home that was closed. Now it's going to be used to house illegals. Great job, Maura. You couldn't rehab that facility to put in homeless veterans, could you? No, that would be a waste of money, wouldn't it? People who wore the uniform of our country, served their country, wrote a check payable up to their life to serve this country. You got homeless vets all over this state. You couldn't rehab that facility in Chelsea, could you? Nah. But we can do it for the illegals. We can throw the kids out of the schools so we can stick illegals in the schools. I'll tell you what. They used to say it's great to be an American. They've created a damn country and a state here where it's great to be anything but an American. And with that, CJ, I'll turn it back to you.
Crime, taxes, water, sewer. I mean, it just keeps getting, it's one on one level on top of another. The archaeologists used to dig down very carefully through the levels of time. We don't have that option at Fall River. We got to dig through the line of bull left by each politician as they go by, because Fall River has a big, thick level of bull that's been spewed by numerous politicians, not just this dictator. So remember that. Just remember that. The bull just keeps flying, no matter what. And people are already jerry rigging themselves, jockeying for the right position so that they can be next in line for the dictator's role. I mean, maybe it's going to be like Caesar, rah, rah, rah. I don't know. Well, I want to thank you for watching, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Friday. Have a great day. Dodge the rain.